Hey, Stepster. I'm Lasya.
And I'm Kritika, and we're your trainers from Future Steps.
Today, we're going to be exploring cells, reproduction, and heredity. Welcome to an exciting journey into the world of cells. We'll discover what makes us who we are, why we look like our parents, and the amazing ways living things reproduce. Get ready for colorful visuals and fun experiments you can try at home.
Okay, so what is a cell? Cells are the tiny building blocks that make up all living things. They're so small that most can only be seen with a microscope, like we talked about in one of our earlier videos about cells. Just like Lego pieces combine to build amazing structures, cells join together to form everything from the tiniest bacteria to the largest whale. A fun fact about cells is that your body has about 37 trillion cells. That's more than all stars in our galaxy. That's crazy, isn't it? Now let's look at the difference between plant cells and animal cells. So animal cells, which is on the left side of the image above, have a flexible membrane, while plant cells, which is on the wait, plant is on the left for us and animal is on the right. So plant, which is on the left, have a rigid cell wall, so they usually look kind of like a cube rather than what this shows. So imagine it as a cube rather than a circle, because that's how plant cells usually look. Or wait, the labeling is wrong. So this is your plant cell, but don't focus on the labels. The one on the right is your plant cell, and the one on the left is your animal cell. So you can notice how the plant cell looks more rigid and it actually has a kind of structure that isn't flowy, unlike animal cells. And plant cells also have chloroplasts that help them capture sunlight, which helps them in the process of photosynthesis. And if you want to know more about cells, you can look at our What About Cell All About Cells video in our YouTube channel. So go look at that if you'd love to know more about cells, because cells are amazing.
Now let's look at DNA, which is the instruction manual inside every cell. So DNA is like a special code that tells your cells how to grow and what to do. It's the instruction manual for everything about you. DNA looks like a twisted ladder. So as you can see in the picture there, it looks twisted like that way, right? It looks like a twisted ladder. And this kind of shape is called double helix. DNA is packed into chromosomes. Humans have 46 chromosomes in each cell. If you could stretch the DNA from just one of your cells, it would be about 6 feet long. That's so tall. And that's just one DNA from one of your cell. So just imagine how we have like trillions of cells in our body. So the DNA in them could stretch very, very long. DNA is the twisted ladder, as we talked about before, the double helix, and gets tightly packed into X-shaped chromosomes when cells divide.
Yep. Now we're going to talk about asexual reproduction, which we can call as making clones. So in asexual reproduction, there is only one parent making identical copies. For so a single parent creates offspring that are that are exact genetic copies, so basically clones of itself. Many simple organisms produce this way. For example, a bacteria splits in half, which is called binary fission. A starfish can regrow from a single arm, and planaria worms can regenerate entire bodies. And every single time they regenerate or they reproduce, every single one of their offsprings are basically going to look the same as them. That's what we mean by clones. So watch how one bacterial cell divides into two identical cells. For this, you could probably search up videos about asexual reproduction or bacterial division or just binary fission if you want to look at videos of that, because they look exactly the same when they divide.
Now let's look at an experiment you can try at your home. Grow your own potato plant. Step one, gather materials. So you need a potato with eyes, which are just small bumps. You need a sharp knife. Ask an adult for help. Do not do it on yourself. And then a clear jar or a cup, toothpicks, and water. Step two, prepare the potato. Cut the potato into a half. Make sure each half has at least 2 to 3 eyes. The eyes are like small bumps, like we talked before. And let the cut surface dry for a few hours. Step three, set up your experiment. Insert the toothpick around the middle of the potato half. Place it inside of water with the cut side downwards and make sure the bottom is touching the water. This is asexual reproduction in action. The potato itself creates new plants that are genetically identical to the parent potato. So the potato you took in this case, it comes from a plant itself, right? That's the parent potato or the parent plant of that potato. And when you take the potato and cut it into half and use the methods we showed to you and explained to you, and put them into water. And when you see a shoot or a plant like that in the photo shown here, that's when you know that this is a replica or this is like a clone of the parent potato plant. And that's why it's called an asexual reproduction.
Yep. And now we're going to talk about sexual reproduction, mixing DNA. In sexual reproduction, two parents each contribute half of the DNA to create a unique offspring with mixed traits. So, this is what humans, animals, plants, and all do, rather than how we talked about asexual, where bacteria and the worms that we talked about do. So, the magic formula is basically half and half of both your parents' DNA. So half will be sperm cells, and the other half of the DNA will be taken from the egg cells to create an offspring or a baby, which has 100% unique DNA mix. So if you have half of your dad's DNA and half of your mom's, you're obviously not going to look exactly like your dad or exactly like your mom. You're going to have a different kind of look. This is why you might have your mom's eyes but your dad's smile. Remember your remember when you have guests over and they suddenly start comparing you to your parents and they're like, "Oh, you have the nose of your mom and your smile looks just like your dad's." This is where that comes from. Now you can also think about this as mixing paint colors to create new shades. It's almost like it's almost like it because mixing DNA from two parents creates offspring with unique combination of traits, which we will talk about later on. Now, animals like dogs, cats, birds, and humans all reproduce sexually to create diverse offsprings, like told you about earlier. So the next time you look in the mirror and you go, "Oh, my eyes look exactly like my dad's," do think about the fact that you were born with mixed DNA.
Now let's look at another experiment you can try at home. This is called the genetic trait. It's a scavenger hunt. Number one, the materials needed. You needed a paper and a pencil, family members or friends, an optional camera for photos. Secondly, these are the instructions. First, make a list of observable traits like the eye color, hair type, attached or detached earlobes, etc. Secondly, check with family members and share each trait. Lastly, create a family genetic chart showing who shares what and what connects to each other. The third thing you need to do is like a bonus challenge that you can try because this is a challenge. So make sure you are able to do this. Try to identify which trait seems to be more common in your family. Can you guess which parent passed them down? This is really interesting because it can relate back to many like years. So it can relate back to your ancestors too sometimes.
Yep, so you can go ask your grandparents, oh, did you remember did you remember if your eye color was from your dad? Or did you remember any of your guests comparing you to your dad or your mom? And you can get to know about their backstory too, which will be a really nice family bonding moment. So definitely try this challenge. Now we're going to talk about heredity. This is how traits are passed on. Heredity is the passing of traits from parents to offspring through genes. Genes are specific segments of DNA that contain instructions on building proteins that determine our traits, and we're going to talk about DNA more in another video. For now, we're just passing from above it. So now some common heritable traits would be eyes, hair, and skin color, height and body structure, some talents and abilities, certain health conditions. Like, usually, if both of your parents have diabetes, you do have a high chance of having diabetes too later on in the future. That's why you should listen to your parents' kids. Okay? And then, just like these animal families, you inherit many visible traits from your parents. So, I get compared to my dad because of my skin color, and then to my mom because of, well, you could say my nose. And I'm pretty sure you have noticed that too, because you're just going on a nice walk and some of your mom's friends come up to you and they're like, "Oh, you look exactly like your mom. You have her eyes." This is where that comes from, and I've told you this probably 10 times in this video already. And I will continue telling you this. So remember, heredity is important.
Okay, so why don't all siblings look alike, right? Like sometimes you see people saying, "Oh, these siblings looks exactly the same," and other times they're like, "Oh, wait, y'all look so different from each other," right? So this is because of genetic shuffling. So parents have two copies of each gene, but pass only one copy to each child. Which copy gets passed on is random. So that is why you can sometimes have siblings that look very different from you, and sometimes have siblings that look really similar to you. We have something also called like the genetic lottery. So with 23 chromosomes from each parent, there are over 8 million possible combinations for siblings. That is really great. Having 8 million different possibilities. Oh my God, that's a lot of different possibilities. And then we have exceptions too, identical twins. Identical twins form when one fertilized egg splits, creating two people with the same exact DNA. You share about 50% of your DNA with each parent and approximately 50 with your sibling. But which specific genes you share varies.
Yep, and the cool part about identical twins is the only way to differentiate between you guys scientifically is by fingerprints. Because your DNA is exactly the same, you look exactly the same, and you're basically identical. Except fingerprints for each person is always different. So that's a really cool thing. Now let's review. For we learned about a lot of things today. We learned about cells, which are the tiny building blocks of life containing DNA instructions. Then we learned about asexual reproduction, where one parent creates identical copies or clones. And then we learned about sexual reproduction, where two parents mix DNA to create a unique offspring, like us humans. And then we talked about heredity, which is how traits pass from traits pass from parents to offsprings. So, your eye color, your hair color, your skin color, and just your very visible traits, and maybe even your talents and things you possess. So now it's your turn. Try the potato experiment and the genetic trait scavenger hunt to see reproduction and heredity in action. And it's definitely really fun. And if you don't want to do the potato experiment, you can always try the genetic trait scavenger hunt because that's a really good thing. And it's going to be really fun because you could do that with your siblings, your parents, your grandparents.
And you will get to know more about your history and how everyone in your family passed down a certain type of trait too.
Yep, because sometimes, you know, you're probably just really tall and you get to know that, oh, I got this from my grandfather. Isn't that cool? So that was our entire video on cells, reproduction, and heredity. Now it's your turn to try out different experiments, have some fun, and learn more. Keep
Yep.
exploring, keep learning, keep watching more videos, and I'm telling you, the human body is full of mysterious and interesting facts. So you should definitely try researching a little more. And do try to read books, and if you don't like reading books, you can watch more videos. And you could go into our channel to find a video on cells, on DNA, and on a lot of different other topics that relate to this. So that's all we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you in our next video. Comment down if you have any questions, concerns, or video requests. We'll definitely reply. Or you could email us too.
Yep.
So see you in our next video, Stepsters. Goodbye.
Bye, Stepsters.